gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. This, of course, is Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system, famous for the Great Red Spot. We know that storm has been raging since at least the 17th century. Early astronomers in the 1600s with their primitive telescopes could see the Great Red Spot. A few pictures of it, so that's how I know they could see it. In 2011, we launched a Cape Canaveral mission called Juno that arrived at Jupiter in 2016. It was in a polar orbit trying to determine if the planet has a solid core, if there is water in its atmosphere. This map of the planet's magnetic fields and getting pictures of the auroras and poles. Jupiter has 79 moons, and one of those moons in particular interests us. This is Europa. Europa has an icy crust, and underneath it we believe there is an ocean of water. Everything we know about life is that water is a necessary ingredient for life. So right now, NASA is working on a proposed robotic mission to Europa in the 2020s. Still on the drawing board, but the thinking is we put a satellite in orbit around Europa, studying the icy crust, looking for a place thin enough to deploy a lander to break through the crust, sample the water below, and look for any evidence of the biology. So as I said, that's still on the drawing board, but the thinking is NASA would use its new rocket, the Space Launch System, to launch that from our Pad 39B sometime in the 2020s. After Jupiter comes Saturn. What are we missing here? The rings. Because this is science on a sphere, not science on a holodeck, so I can't do the rings anyway. Like the other gas giants, primarily hydrogen with some helium and other trace elements. In 1997, we launched a Cape Canaveral mission called Cassini that arrived at Saturn in 2004 and ended a 13-year mission a year ago, performing its final task called the Grand Finale. It went into a polar orbit between Saturn and its rings, giving us the closest ever high-resolution images of the surface of Saturn and the interior of the rings. As it ran out of fuel, it plunged into the upper atmosphere of Saturn, and that was the end of Cassini. After Saturn come Uranus and Neptune. Unfortunately, we don't have very good close images of those two planets. The only close images come from the Voyager 2 flyby in the late 1980s. This is Uranus and this is Neptune. Again, primarily hydrogen with some helium and other trace elements. The bluish tint in their atmospheres is believed to come from methane. NASA is working on an update of its wish list for proposed future robotic missions. One of the ideas they have is a more modern mission with more equipped camera technology that would fly past Uranus and Neptune. So someday we'll get better pictures of those two planets. Of course, a lot of talk in recent years about Pluto. In January 2006, we launched from Cape Canaveral a mission to Pluto called New Horizons. When New Horizons left here in January 2006, Pluto was a planet. And when it arrived at Pluto in July 2015, Pluto was an exoplanet. And the reason for that is that around the time that New Horizons left here in January 2006, astronomers around the world were paying more attention to the outermost region of the solar system where Pluto resides. It's called the Kuiper Belt. It has a lot of icy remnants from the formation of the solar system about 4.5 billion years ago. They were observing things that were making them question their definition of a planet. For example, 1 year earlier, in January 2005, they found an icy world named Eris, E-R-I-S, that was 1/4 more massive than Pluto. So why is Pluto a planet, but Eris is not a planet? We think of a planet as a world that's very big. Pluto is actually very small. It's even smaller than Earth's moon. Earth's moon has a diameter of 2,100 miles, or 3,400 kilometers. Pluto has a diameter of only 1,400 miles, or 2,200 kilometers. We think of a planet as a world that has moons orbiting it. Pluto has 5 moons. Its largest moon is called Charon, C-H-A-R-O-N. Charon is half the size of Pluto. Instead of Charon orbiting around Pluto, Pluto and Charon dance around each other. Together they orbit around the Sun. So as a result of all of that, in August 2006, the International Astronomical Union created a new category called dwarf planet. We put Eris and Pluto in that category. They added 3 more worlds for a total of 5. We anticipate that